Alright, hello and welcome, devs. Well, hello and welcome to Bug Creations. Today we are taking a look at some camera type scripts. So the goal is to at least get a working kind of camera that is better than the current camera because not pinned under a different object is not how we want it to be. So we'll look at how to make an actual working better camera. Yeah, a little bit. Right. So with that, remember to like, subscribe. I think Halo on Twitch. So if you're interested in developer type content, also go over and my YouTube videos on either a party you need that you'd like to see covered, or an idea for a short video that you might want to see. Couple things we have queued. I was thinking Palinko might be a cool. Might do that on my Thursday stream. Stream 6 o'clock on Tuesday, Thursday, and then 8 a.m. on Saturday. And that's Tuesday is code, Thursday variable, and Saturday. Sometimes in case there's something I need to get done for a quick series that needs to be finished up. And that all looks good. So let's head on over into the game dev screen here. So let's flip over to this one. Let's look at that. How's that looking? Looks all right. And then just gonna go ahead and flip this over here so I can see nicer. That looks pretty good. So how do we go about making a camera? So we have the player movement and the player body. We're gonna pin this camera into here so that we can see how it's turning. That's actually a very bad way to do things. Here. There we go. It's a little better now than it used to be. So this basically is updating based on this update. And when it's underneath a rigid body object, which would be, or I guess up here it isn't. Did I just create a pin to script? No, there's no script on this camera. Why is player container, player body, unhyphen body, camera is still out here. So why is the camera following? Well, that's not the main camera. So I have too many cameras. You can see if I just delete this object. I still have a render area, so I have a camera in here somewhere. Main camera that's pinned under the body flip. Right there. We don't want it there. We want it somewhere not there. And to make sure it's pinned to where it's supposed to be and looking in the direction it's supposed to be, that's what we'll be working on today. So for frame of reference, let's go ahead and just pull that into the player container. So reason being, player container isn't going to move. There's going to be no transform being applied to player container. So we won't have any of that applying to the main camera, but it will still, we're going to use other scripts to move it around and do that. So there's some where they pin it to a position and then rotate to look at a certain point. That tends to look okay. We're going to try something a little bit different. This is mostly just because been working with angles, tweening, and a bunch of stuff right now. I think we're gonna try and tween our camera so that it looks a little bit better. It might look horribly worse, but we'll see how this goes. Um, so if I go into start with assets, go into scripts, is there anything matching my animation, game manager, race move setting, racer movement? It's not going to be in there. SCO params, SCO settings. If this is still empty, let's get rid of settings because it's just a bunch of empty folders. Um, and then let's create a C# script that is, nope, nope, now well, I guess I just won't open it yet. Let's call this camera, and we need to think, is our camera going to require a move, like a state context where it's like, do we have a different camera state for accelerate or grounded versus in air and other stuff? Well, that would depend on what you're going to do with your game. But for this type of one, it really doesn't make much sense to do that. That would be more like if you have a bunch of different camera angles that you're going to want to incorporate, like say you have a zoom or a binocular or a scope or a setup like that. But this guy's just going to kind of be looking at one spot and one spot only, and he's going to be following one spot and one spot only. And just it's going to be kind of yes no, and that's kind of going to be set by the states. I think would be the best way to do this. So let's just go camera manager for right now. And I'll probably be misspelled. uh Both camera and that are probably misspelled. Nope, maybe just manager. So we'll create a folder, and I'll call this one just my camera scripts. Camera, a camera. Okay, so camera, and then let's go camera manager. I'm just kind of trying to play around with this for right now. So let's go ahead and just say that's going to be on the camera, right? Did we get it? Camera manager. So add component camera manager, and then we'll double click it. And I think I'm actually gonna rename this right away because I think I want this to be racer. Reason that being, I'm trying to set up some example namespaces. Bug pre-productions dot arcade racer. And the reason I'm doing this is just to kind of help me organize my code, and I kind of want to get all my code in one place and eventually onto GitHub at some point here. As a asset, not as a project. Which there is a very major difference. Probably not something I'll personally cover or even talk about for a bit yet, because that's more into I haven't done a lot with putting Git type things online. I'm more focused on making offline things that can use the different APIs and stuff online is more the direction a lot of the people that requested me have gone towards. So that's kind of more what I've been working on. Uh, Eventually, I'll move into learning how to use dynamic updates for packages and whatnot. But for right now, it's mostly offline that access is online. Um, date 9 slash just good habit to be in, making sure you have the date and who made the scripts, because I am possibly going to sell this as an asset or at the very least share it with my dev group. So what's here? We are just going to use that. So start with vars personal preferences, of course, but vars methods accessors. If anyone ever has a question, feel free to ask a question in the chat. Not the most like biggest Unity pro, but I've done a fair amount of AR VR stuff in the last, especially in the last year. So a lot of my stuff comes from I want to be able to, if not incorporate internet and multiplayer now, probably incorporate it in the future, and also make it so that I can swap in inputs and stuff a little more leisurely. That's why we did the input bridge in the other past videos. To make sure I can just put a different input manager in there or automate it all together if I want. So we're just kind of looking through, and we got Racer Camera Manager Mono. Which this is all looking pretty good. And what's a camera manager gonna need? Well, I'm thinking, and I use Protect. Excuse me. I use Protected. I have a coughing problem quite often. So apologies for anybody that sees one video of me coughing quite a bit or so more. That's why we keep our water next to us. So everything still looks pretty good, and we're going to continue on to protected. And what do I want to do? So protected, I'm going to choose a vector 3. Vector 3 because I want to calculate it. Ooh, this scratchy throat's really not being fun. Vector 3, and I'm going to call this a position. So this would be something like a I'm going to calculate the point ahead of me that I want to look at. I want to calculate the point behind me the camera should be looking from. That's the first thing we need to figure out. And why am I doing it in vector 3? Structs take up less memory. At least last I heard, they take up less memory and they're faster to calculate. So vector 3s, because we're always looking for a point ahead of the racer or behind the racer. A point ahead of the racer and behind the racer, and then any of those other ones just won't any states that don't have the camera moving with the object or not moving at all, just keeping its original 2 point will 1 second. Okay. Basically anything that doesn't need the camera to update and move will not provide new points, and the camera manager will continue to look at the same point from the old point and just continue to function the normal way. So let's go ahead and continue. Oof. So it's going to have a vector 3, which is world position, that's going to look 2. So let's go ahead and say, let's call it just look 2. I don't want to use the number 2. Look 2. And I don't want to use look at or anything like that because those are Unity keywords. Don't want to have those in there. And let's call it vector 3, 0 just so it exists at all times because nothing's worse than trying to access a bunch of objects that don't exist, even if they're written up here and not necessarily assigned. It still causes problems, especially when you get to lists and such things. So best to just make sure to do that. Always have defaults up here. And then I'm gonna cut look to, and we'll call this from, and we're not gonna do put these in the inspector. So we're just gonna go and put comments in here. Camera looks from this point. Here's your camera script. Yep, all looks good. And then camera looks from this point. Camera looks, and we'll use at because it'll be easier for people to read this later. At this point. So camera looks at this point, camera looks from this point. And we're going to go ahead and say, do we want to assign these points outside this script, or do we want it to be inside this script? So for accessors, we could make it a get and a set, or we can make a method where we pass in both. That sounds kind of nice. It also sounds nice just to do 2 separate accessors. It does kind of defeat the purpose of using protected variables, because then these could just be public if they have a public getter and setter. But same's true if you use a method. So security wise, I don't know, kind of a toss up. Probably industry wise, probably better to use an accessor over something like that, and then set it. We could set it outside. Let's try outside first. So let's go. It's going to be a vector 3. So this is going to be public vector 3 look 2, and it's going to be capital LOOK TOO look 2 get return look 2, and I've done this so much that it knows what I'm trying to do. Wow, that's actually kind of nice. This is probably, yeah, recently it's been getting a lot better. 2021 was pretty terrible before, though. It was just really bad at guessing what I wanted. So, and it only gave me the get, so I'm just gonna go in here and make set. And I'm gonna make it look from, no, look to look2 is equal to value. Remember the line and the line. Set, and then it's look from is equal to value. And I might change this, like how this is done later, but I just kind of want to keep moving. Because these points aren't going to be calculated by the camera necessarily. Because I looked at our body object. So if we look at our object, I did the bod flip, which is, I guess basically my rotational body that I'd rotate. But player body, race remove context, input bridge, racer ground context. IK calculator, don't worry about that. That's not in the demonstration videos. That's a extra project of mine. But I was looking at this, and I can't actually, so if I look at the bod, right, this guy, because this is what's referenced, right? Bod, which is this layer. So this guy, he rotates and does stuff. Cool, right? So, but what about that? So if I try and put a point through that, I can't really do any fancy turns or anything. Like if I couldn't rotate this racer and do a spin out if I wanted that to be part of my stun animation. So that's not very adaptable. Player bod. So what I'd probably do is put another object in here that's gonna serve as an anchor. So I just want to make sure everything's zeroed. So let's create empty cam and chor. It's cam anchor, no scaling, no rotation, just looking the same direction this is. I want it to turn with this. So if we hyphenate, they're on the same level at the same position. That's beautiful. It's camera, eraser move camera. Yeah, I did change it as well. Okay. And cam anchor. So there's the camera manager, which is basically going to look to the, because we don't want him going directly into the context. We got enough stuff in our move context. So we probably want like a cam something camera on this. That's going to kind of be a camera helper. Basically to calculate those points ahead and behind. Because otherwise we'd have to put that in the state. So it would be faster to test it on here, but it'd be easier to deal with on because the states are going to have their own camera properties, right? How far ahead they want it, how far ahead they want that target to point, how far back they want that target from point. That's going to be kind of state dependent, right? What state am I in? So I do that. So the option becomes, do we want to make a little helper script which has all the stats of how far ahead am I supposed to be using based on this object, based on that object. Um, and have all those stats in there? Or do we want to put it in each class, which does require altering the base class so that we can use that versus we just, well, then we have to do the check, don't we? Because it's no longer from the. Let me grab a open notepad. Notepad. Um, Something about this. Get ignore gizmos. And school something. That's fine. Anyway, bring in a nice untitled that's not saved anywhere. So what's the deal with this? So let's zoom in a little bit. The deal with this is helper script can't use a let's check the state. Let's check the state. But we could also have a context. So if we have a okay, so helper must check the state. So this isn't a very good idea. What doesn't have to check the state is cam context require is if we make a context for this camera, which sits on that object. Requires new state machine. But it requires a new state machine. And the other one is for the cam manager. To calculate, which is very bad. And why is that very bad? That's very bad because I can look at this one and look ahead and calculate that way, but this doesn't rotate at all. Then there's this one that rotates, but if I want to do a spin out ability, I can't do that, right? So that's why camera manager calculating this is bad. Cam context requiring a new state machine. So, or we can use a helper to check that has to help check the state, but that requires a lot of processing that isn't necessary. So it's probably actually better for us to take the time and make a context state. So I'll definitely be able to get one or two done. So probably idle and accelerate, because that's the ones we have working the most, and make them really visually different to test it. And then require a new state machine. Yeah, so we'll just kind of have to do that, which is kind of unfortunate that it's going to be that much work, but folder, and this is racer. And yeah, this is probably the first one where we're actually getting a bit more specific because only a player is going to have this type of camera object. And you might think, well, why are you doing this with the racer at this thing, right? Um, well, because if this goes online, do we really want it built into this object? It's not gonna matter. I've done some camera stuff where I know how to work around that. It's not too bad. So we're gonna need Racer. What's Racer Manager? Can you open, buddy? There we go. So let's leave that as it is. This is only gonna manage the one camera. It's fine. Um, and then I'll go back to the other thing, and I'm gonna create a camera context, and we're gonna make sure everything's named Racer. Racer camera um, Racer camera context, and we're gonna need a Racer camera state. Racer camera state. And the good thing about this is then we can even have a racer start one, which doesn't necessarily apply to a. I guess we just put it idle because we're not really using idle for anything else except spawning, right? So racer camera state. So let's open that up and then open the folder up. Then we create a probably new C# script, and this one's going to be some kind of state, which is going to be underscore for camera state. And what are we going to do? Well, let's just do idle. Do one for idle. And we'll create one for accelerate. Underscore CS. And I'm looking at this now. It might be better to rename these at some point because underscore CS looks problematic to me. Yeah, that's what the rename function is there for, though. So it'll be fine. So we're in accelerate CS. Open idle. Let's close the racer input bridge, the accelerate, MS, move state, and the racer move context. We'll leave that open. Bug-free tool can close, airborne GS, ground helper, context, move state. Idle I should have left open, but stun, dash, grounded, ground check, ground states. Whoop, I think that had an S on it. That should be renamed. Oh well. We'll get back there eventually. So we need to open those other ones. Idle is open, camera, and then racer camera manager. Nope, this one. And we need this one. And that's cool. And I'll just go ahead and do these comments, which probably is getting irritating to watch me type into them, but it's whatever. It doesn't take up that much time. And let's go ahead and get a namespace in here for organization's sake. Now, it might take up some stream time, but the reason I'm doing this, in addition to what was said before, since I'm already dividing it up, I would actually have to type more lines of code because then I'd have to have using statements for all those other things too, which makes this would make this a pain. Because then I'd have to use that same using statement and then also come back after the stream and fix all that crap, which rather not. Methods. Accessors. Yeah, the second character, the keyboard. Clickety clackety, click clack of the keyboard. So, variables, I'm not going to do anything with this right now. I'm going to go get the camera state and fix that all up. To those that want to look at my GitHub, it's not very, not very public. A lot of the stuff I've worked on is either not my stuff or is stuff I'm still planning on trying to finish to sell. So I'm not really, don't have a lot of forward-facing projects, unfortunately. Also, if anyone is interested in AR, probably after a little while, after I get my phone replaced at some point, I could maybe do some AR videos. We get channel numbers up. So remember to tell your friends and all that stuff if you're interested in getting GitHub type videos on how I approach using Unity and GitHub together, and B, AR, or depending on what happens with schooling, might be some VR opportunities too. So most of the reason I don't try and do anything VR right now is just all my PCs could handle it, but I can't afford the headset. Which is another reason why I can't actually show any VR stuff that I've worked on, because it's all been other people's stuff that I couldn't really, they didn't really have promo footage that I could link to, and I can't really do much about some of the other stuff, but whatever. Bug Free Productions dot arcade racer. There we go. Control S, and we're gonna get rid of this. What is this? Racer camera state. So this is a basic C# class, which is gonna inherit from this is this doesn't inherit from anything. Sweet. um, so another thing if you're a new dev that you'll probably think is, well, why is this guy making so many state machines? It's time consuming. You gotta keep on project stuff. You gotta have like turnout constantly. While it may slow down turnout a little bit, it actually I did this wrong. It actually saves time in the long run because, especially if you're developing for mobile, you want to make sure your stuff is very optimized out the gate. So, this process of creating a state machine kind of also ensures that we only have one method call that we have to go back. So, building it this way will allow our camera states to be told that we're entering a new state. So, racer So through racer move context, the racer move states will be able to access the racer camera context and tell it that it's changing states to this new state. So like for example, if you've seen the other videos or if you're familiar with state machines, we'll go back and it'll be racer So it'll look something like move context is calling move state, which is calling a method in camera context, which is calling a method in the camera state to do something. And then that's broken up a little bit separate and not that type of method call allows us to be like as close to one as possible so that we don't have like a exponential thing where like we have to check which layer we're in and we have to do this every so many frames, stuff like that. Which is really important, especially in mobile data line. So State Machine does speed up a lot of processing. Also skipping frames on processing, which I might talk about later if I ever get a dev stream, or maybe we'll set up with something. Yeah, I think maybe recording a little presentation would be cool once my other buddy graduates. But till then, what we got? Racer move camera state. So camera state is gonna have what? It's gonna have a protected. So okay, methods are gonna have a region hashtag region of changing states. Changing states and open a couple lines and an end region. So ending the region. So this is just going to be for changing states, which in this case is then going to be a public virtual void, because this is racer camera state. Yep. Void of return type. Oh, actually be type camera state. And it's going to return what is this going to be? I do idle. I don't want to do get and set. I want idle, and it's going to have to be a, yeah, because it doesn't return anything. Return, and let's build our racer camera context so far. So what is it going to need for variables? It's going to need a thing to create states. So let's create a region that create states so then let's end region. And what do we have for end region then? So creating states, we're going to need states that are idle. So these are going to be protected states, which are going to be racer camera state. And we start with the current one, RCC, current RCC. is equal to new, and now I need to go make sure my idle and stuff is pulled up, which it isn't, doesn't look like. So I'll go into here, accelerate, and they are both open, okay. So here, let's go ahead and do the comments. And it is namespace bug-free productions dot arcade racer and delete, and down we go. There's that. Reason that's important is now we go and get the, because we need to use the racer camera context. A racer camera, not context, racer camera state. Cool, cool. Then accelerate, we do the same thing. Whoops. 24, and then we go namespace. So if you're following on tutorials, I don't recommend you type all the namespace stuff, especially if you're just doing this to learn, but it's pretty simple. Nothing much to worry about. Something weird happened there. What happened there, buddy? I think it didn't give me brackets. And this wasn't wrong, which means this book didn't make it right. Cool. Racer camera state. Accelerate CS. Might do RCS. The Pokemon. That probably would solve the problem I have with this class. Let's rename it. Let's go idle and also rename that one. Before we get too far, there, I feel better. Oh, what happened? Shouldn't have been anything. Okay. So this is all done. These are not important. We don't need those because we're not a mono behavior. I should actually throw an error. They would actually throw an error if we were in Unity, but since we're not there yet, voila. So racer camera context, creating states. Let's open that up. We create a new, actually I don't assign things here. It's the other ones that get. Racer move state, which is equal to idle underscore RCC. If we're doing idle underscore RCC, what do we have? We have protected camera state, not idle. These are bad complete options, but accelerate underscore RCC. Racer camera state. Why is C? No, it should be S. RCS. And we're going to keep going. So where are we looking at? We're looking decent. So these guys are actually going to equal new things. And it's going to be a accelerate RCS that has no parameters because we didn't do that. New, I screwed that up. This is an idle RCS. Idle RCS. And then this also has no parameters. And then this also needs accessors for all three of those. And they all need only gets. Because this guy's the only one setting anybody's states for camera. Well, I mean, other ones will call in, but he's the only one that handles state change. So we do cur. Let's do this. Let's just public racer cam state. Cur underscore RCS. Return cur RCS. Public racer cam state accelerate. So that one is a real thing always. And then public racer cam state idle underscore RCS. That should be good for right now. We will have methods, create states, and then let's go ahead and just do the change states now. Region, change states, hashtag, and that region. Region changes states and region. So in here we're just gonna have our ones to change states. So we're gonna have public virtual void, because I don't want to return the state. Do I? We can always change that later. This one's going to be idle. And we're going to go to racer camera state actually now, because we don't have the things to do that. So let's finish up this line, shall we? Racer cam idle return, and return being to be the context dot idle. Racer move camera state. Not correct. And also, this is going to be racer context, racer camera context. This is where I got RCC. ARCC, ARCC dot capital idle RCS. Cool, cool. Now why I do it this way, I think I've covered before, but basically I want this state to determine what state I go to next, which is why we have the idle method being an action that goes, okay, I want to go to the idle state. Can this state go to idle, or does idle mean something else to this state? And this returns this. It's not so much a deal in this type of setup, but I've had, what was it, a shooter that really needed a little more attention than just being change of state and stuff like that. This also prevents me from needing more handlers, so win-win. So let's just duplicate that one, and we'll change this from idle to accelerate. Accelerate. Accelerate RCS. So then all of this is clear. So this should work. And racer cam context, idle. So the idle being so if you remember the move state, do we want to save the last move state in this one? Do we want to save our camera's last state? If we do something like a cut camera, we might. And why do I say that? Because if we changed it to like a fixed position for a little bit, like a tunnel has a different position, we want to go from tunnel back to whatever it was. So we might, and it might be worth it just to hold on to it. So let's go ahead and do, since we're in here and we're thinking of it, let's go ahead and make one. Racer camera context. Nope. Just copy this. Racer camera state. That is last state. Does not equal anything. And why do we do that? Because right here I want to set it up. So, protected virtual void. Protected virtual void of the on enable. Protected virtual void of the on enable. And then we're gonna open that up. Why protected virtual? Well, because I can still inherit this on enable method in later scripts if I want to modify it later, which might happen, might not happen. All depends. Protected virtual void on enable, and then we want to set current RCS. So we want to set default states. And to set default states, we set current RCS equal to idle RCS. And I set idle RCS, no, that was a bad autocomplete. We set last state, which I'm realizing I want to rename. Underscore RCS last RCS equal to idle RCS. And then if you remember, the easy way to check this, so we have here, we kind of, oh, we haven't set up anything. Camera state? Yeah, race through camera state, change states, camera state, idle. But we don't have accessors yet. So let's go public virtual. We're gonna make a virtual public bool, a public virtual bool, and this public virtual bool is going to be a bool that represents is IDLE, no parentheses, curly brackets, and there's going to be a get return. I don't like to set things true to default. And then there's going to be another public virtual bool accelerated. Accelerated? No, my friend. Accelerate. And just to make sure. Why does it look so weird? It looks so much shorter without the D. Anyway. Return false line. Cool. So what does that do for me then? Return false. So basically this sets it false by default. Then we go idle. Open up some crap. Public override bool is idle, and it sets it equal to base, which is fine, but I'm just gonna whole cloth redefine, which is get return, and there's no reason. I could probably do angle equal whatever I want it to be true. I just don't want to do that. Return true line, remove enter, public override. Nope, and that's the only one we have to do on here. Why? Because this is the only one that's going to be true when we're in the idle state. And then we go to accelerate, and we do the same dang thing. Open up some lines, comment out, ESSORS. And then we go public, override. And it's not void, it's bool. Bool is accelerate. Get return, and it's gonna be line. So there we go. Back to camera context. And in camera context, we go to the idle one that we were making. And I'm actually gonna just pull up move context. Racer move context. We had some methods. Which ones change states? Here we go. How did this one work? And I'm just using this as reference because it takes me less time to figure it out. We created a state to hold that equals the current if cur rms dot is done returned. Okay, so we get the thing we want, which will be the next state. We check the thing that is, which is the cur state. If the booleans are not equal, last equals the current, and then we change the state. I'm just going to copy that, pull it into RacerCam context, and my next racer camera state is equal to cur RCS dot id dot idle, passing in this. If cur RCS is idle equals next ms RCS idle. Then last RCS equals cur RCS. Then change state, which is just setting current state equal next state. Which I think I'll just, yeah, I'll still do that. State change. So then this would be a protected virtual void change state. And we got change state next RCS. And we need to take in a racer camera state, a RCS. So racer camera cons, racer camera state, racer camera state. Per RCS equals AR. And here we go. So what I'm gonna do is Control C. Whew. So glad Windows didn't decide, hey, I need to open Windows now. Boy. Accelerate. Actually, erase remove context can just use this as a set the state and then could it? That'd be iffy. Right? Because if we call a thing and the state can't actually change to it, it wouldn't. So we have to put it in the state. So we still have to call this from the state, but we don't have to, because we can't really do it through the move context and whatever. It's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. It's all right now. Hmm. Okay. I just gotta keep making sure this microphone is running, in fact. Sweet. So with that, we're gonna keep running. We got accelerate, and then we're just gonna swap in stuff like ACC accelerate, and then actually just Control C, because if I spelled everything right, then it's just Control E. I can spell. It's a modern miracle. From then on, this is actually not going too bad, but we are still just in the state machine that we haven't made do anything yet. And change some booleans. Boy. Alright, now this just works reciprocally, back and forth between the two states, but that's alright. We can add more states in later. We're just gonna make sure we can run these now. Which this is looking pretty good. Everything's in regions, which is beautiful, with descriptions, change states. Could add methods to that. Change state methods. Create state. Bars. And currently you'll notice these camera states don't actually do anything, they just cycle right now. Which, yeah, is fine. Race remove context, we're actually gonna need two different kinds of states for this. And why is that? So I again need accelerate. I should rename these RMS and rename the move state racer move state, because I pretty much did that for all the naming conventions anyway. But I digress. It is. It simply is. I didn't go back to what I wanted. I wanted this one. Accelerate. Doesn't it looks like it closed it? Okay, so I have to go here, right? Drag. That did not want to be. I don't know. Did not want to make a decision. I'm not sure if that was me or the computer just being weird. Accelerate. Accelerate. So eraser move states. I also want move state SC of racer move. Where's racer? Racer. Come on. Racer move context. I also want idle. And that's going to come out, and that's going to go into accelerate. Yeah. So then what we want to do, we want to change states in idle MS. So let's actually just, yeah, that was a dumb idea. Let's just go to here, the actual racer move state. Let's close the accelerate MS and the idle MS. Let's just, right here. I mean, yeah, we're still using all of the default ones anyway throughout the classes, so what's the point, I think? actually, is that true? I'm just gonna check here. State change methods. These are all overridden, but we use all defaults. So let's just get rid of this section because I don't actually want it to change anything right now. And I only need to override what I need to change. So character movement is still different on every state. So we're just gonna leave that. But then let's save that. Let's close that. Erase your move context. Let's also check out idle. Did I state change methods? Yep, I did. Because I didn't want to put them in later, but in fact, I don't want them in there now. Fickle, huh? So, if I didn't cover, I'll have to look back and look at jump. I don't know if I covered jump or not. I remember doing it. I don't remember if I did that on or off stream though. Idle. So this idle, so now we're just going straight back to erase your move state for this kind of information, which is just saying that Rick has just the correct things to do. These two are methods I'm working on and states I'm adding to it. Don't worry about those. Good. Erase your move state. So accelerate. So this returns the accelerate state. So before I return, I want to go ahead and change my camera state, which is going to be camera state context. So erase your move context, which means we're going to need a camera state context in the erase your move context, which means I probably want it on that layer, which means it's not going to go on that pivot point. Because I could link them manually, but that's just asking for trouble at that point. Means the erase remove context is probably going to want some type of position data. So we're going to have a transform that pivot, put it in there, and then access it that way. So that should be fine though. So let's take a look at erase remove context. We don't want states. We don't want manage current state, monument or movement variables, project references. Is this just my SCOs? That's just my SCOs. Is there really nothing here that isn't? There's nothing unrelated, which is very. GS Racer Bridge. Okay, this is a collection of crap. That's why I'm like, there is a collection of crap here somewhere, but it is all pertaining to movement variables. So all fine. Probably just create a new region. And why create a region versus just comment in some lines? I just don't feel like it. Racer. So this is going to be for camera. Camera. Camera reference variables. Variables, I don't know. Then we got something like end region. If we have a region here, so then what do I need? I need a protected camera. camera. It's racer camera, isn't it? Racer camera context. I'm just going to call this lowercase rcc. Unassigned. And unenable is what I'm going to work on. And setup vars is what I'm going to work on. And just throw it in here with object references, being that it's going to be something that's on the object that I reference, object references. RCC is equal to get the components of the type raster camera context, finish without parameters. So, looks pretty good. Yeah. I could put racer ground context. I probably will. RGC. Yeah, I'll probably start doing some renaming stuff. Probably not on stream. Unless I may happen to be in there for some reason. Like I was for some of this today. Racer context. RCC. That should all be good. So now I can go back. And I think I mentioned require component. I'm kind of falling out of love with require component because it makes it hard to move things around. If you know exactly what your structure is going to be and all that stuff, that's very great. So maybe after you start doing testing, that's a good idea. But unless you really know what you're doing up front, I don't recommend doing it. The heck? No idea when that was made then, but no idea when I made this. So we'll backdate it for the first. Why not? It's been here forever, but I don't remember when it was made. So save it up. And project references, it's in there. RCC. No, it's in here. This should probably be project SEO references. I'm actually gonna. All right, let's full line this region. I don't like the name on this. States SEO. SEO references. Cool, right? Yeah. Camera state. This is still good. On enable, it exists now. So if I go to erase remove context, I can get the camera state. So which means if I go to erase remove state, yeah, erase remove state, even that's, yeah. I don't know why I did MS, that was stupid of me. So erase remove context, ARCM. We're just gonna do accelerate, so it's gonna be ARC A erase remove context RMC. Oh, ARMC dot our, I didn't make a setter for that, or not setter, but accessor. I want race remove context. Race remove context, accessors all the way at the bottom. Ground status. Could probably put some of these in regions so they're more collapsible. It's pretty well marked for right now, but I might switch some of that out for region stuff. Access. CAMERA. Access to camera contacts. Public. Cool. Reason I'm not making these virtual is there's no point. It's a protected variable that has a public getter, and I'm not going to really override it because we're just doing gets. So there's no point in making it virtual. And so we're going to do camera RCC get return RCC line. All right. Race remove state dot r dot not comparing to RCC dot IDLE parentheses. Did I screw this up? Whoop, I did screw this up, didn't I? That's not type that I want, right? I put it as a bool. Erase your camera context. Idle. There we go. So now this should all work. So this should set the camera context to idle. So, all right. This is accelerate. So then is accelerate. And then let's copy this. Find idle. Idle. Okay. Ouch. Do a quick stretch. Do a quick stretch. We're at 7:30. Do a quick stretch. Oh. Looks like we'll finish this. Probably have to finish this a different time. Race your camera script. We could have done a quick snap too. I kind of wanted to do this because I thought it would be cool to have different settings that we can go up and down and back and forth and stuff like that. And I just thought it'd be kind of fun to do it that way. So do similar to our other state machine, because it would tween nicer. And so maybe I'll just have the next one will be labeled 2. Race your camera script number 2. But So this will probably be 2 parts, and I'll probably edit that right now so I remember that is true. Um, the next one was just to do some power stuff, so that doesn't put us too far behind. Because I'm not gonna do it there. Maybe we still keep on with the power and we come back in a couple days on the 26th instead of doing the comic right away. Yeah, that gives me one comic camera. Oh no, can't aim cannon before you do that. Huh. I guess we'll just overwrite this comic. So we'll do. Huh. Wheel. I guess I'll just back this up. And I'll go back and do that later. Anyway. Back to the matter at hand. Or the hand at the matter. So we have all this working, right? This is set to work. We didn't see any errors in our logic, all that stuff. This is all set up to run, right? If it has any errors, I'll just troubleshoot them off stream and come back with the functioning code with highlighted errors if people were following along and also had errors. Accelerate. So this is all done, right? Race remove state does this. So this should tie directly into it. So now all that's left is really deal with our camera, our like actual camera. So the manager receives the points. The context knows whether and how to get the points. So basically, we want to go to our camera state. So racer camera context, racer camera state. Racer camera state generic being, we'll do a, yeah, we can get the basic camera calculation running here, and then everybody can just make their own for the other state classes because it's overwritable. Perfect. So, not public, and not variables. Methods, changing states. Let's create a new region. Hash region. And this is going to be, let's just call it what it is. Cal new calculating new CAMERA camera targets. And if we're calculating new camera targets, we also need to close the region. We have to definitely close this region. End to the region and calculating new camera targets. So racer. First, we need a racer camera context. And we're kind of done with these ranges right now, regions. And this is going to be a new variable region, hash region. This is going to be for character crap. Let's call this camera anchor. Yeah. And we're gonna serialize it. Nope. C-A-M-E-R-A, camera. These are going to be objects, I guess. CTS. So if they're camera objects, we're also going down to the region. And if we're entering the region, then it's time to do the serialized field. Serialized field. It's going to be of a protected racer cam state. No, it's going to be a protected racer. It's going to be a protected transform. Protected transform. Why is it protected transform? Because it's just to get the position information. I could get the transform.position. If I remembered to hit the dot correctly. But it doesn't look like it does that. It looks like that has to be a call from something else. So we're just going to do transform because I can get a vector 3 of its position. Transform, and this is designed for PC, so we're saving calls, but we're not saving space with the references we're holding, which is whatever, it's fine. Protected transform. And this is going to be lowercase C-A-M-A-N-C-H-O-R, Anchor? I don't know. I can't spell. And then let's control duplicate it, and this is going to be camera. So this is going to be the camera object. Do we want it through transform, or what would help more is probably make sure it's of type camera manager. So the reason for that, Racer Camera Manager. Racer Camera Manager is a smaller object to hold a reference to. It's a references are pretty fast, and the transform can still be the transform can still be accessed pretty well. Let's go R, C, and M, lowercase. Continue that sort of thing. There's going to be one of these. It gets a short initial. Versus transform, which is descriptive. Serialized field protected RCM, Racer Camera Manager. These guys are. So let's go header. Oh. Camera object reference. Object references. The anchor and the manager. Cool. So now that we have these in the context, these are protected so that they can't be changed. Let's go down to the accessors. ACCESS access to camera objects. And if we're accessing the camera objects, what do we want to do first? It's going to be public. It's going to be transform, public transform of ANCHOR, which I know is wrong, but I can't think of how to spell it. It could also be a dumb thing that I've seen somewhere that has a different, like it might be anchor in a different language or a different word that's pronounced anchor. I don't know. And then we do a public, and it's a racer, CAMER, camera manager, racer camera manager, RCM, return RCM, control S. So that's all saved up. So now we can go back to our move state. Not our move state. Racer camera manager. So from our context, where do we need that reference that we just made that for? Oh, 2 hours is a long time to look. Sit here and not look at something else. Oh, okay. So what do we have? Racer camera state. So we needed this so that our camera states could access this information. So racer camera state. Calculating new camera targets. So I'd probably go P, is it protected or B update? Yeah, we're probably going to run this in update because cameras need to be updated often so that they appear smooth. So we're probably going to call this calculation an update, which means that we don't need to talk to the other guys and figure out when we need to run. So we can run the calculating. We can do a protected, PROTE, TECT, protected. Protected. Is it going to return anything? No, so BIRT virtual void names calc. What are we going to do? We're going to calc cam TARGET. Why don't we use new in here at all? Recently using new in any case inside a word or at the beginning or at the end of a word. Very bad idea. Just because autocomplete will think you mean the new keyword, and then it'll screw things up, or it'll think some other keyword. Don't start anything with new or put new in this word at all. It's just bad. Calc cam target. What I do instead is I'll do something like, so what's this type going to be? This type is going to be a vector 3. Yeah, because I'm going to need 2 vector 3s, right? One for look to and one look from. So from and to. So let's go vector 3. I'm going to use n look to, and it'll be equal to, let's call vector 3 dot 0 just so it exists with all zeros. Will look massively wrong if something was different. And then n look new look from. Yeah, so we'll probably yeah, we'll go 4 more minutes and then I think I'm gonna end it and wrap up. Just so that it all right. Yep, I'm gonna probably look at 4 more minutes and then we'll cut out and head to something else. So we'll look on and we'll pick this back up on one of the other coding days. So we'll look at that. Look at vector 3 and look to vector 3, 0. So then we're just going to calculate some new vector 3's, which are pretty easy. And the way to do that is to use the anchor. So it's going to be racer camera state. We don't have an access to the new, so calc cam targets. It's going to come down to needing a racer camera context ARCC, and with that racer camera context, we're going to use the ARCC, and we're going to use that ARCC dot anchor, which I don't think I made access to yet. I just made the things here. No, I did. Cam anchor. So it's just cam first. Cam anchor dot forward. So we want the forward plus C dot position and so ARCC cam forward plus this position. This saying it's ahead of the camera at this position. Then what? So we're just not going to do anything with that one. We're going to actually set the N look 2 is equal to, and then duplicate and look from is actually, I don't think there's any reverse. Is there a backward on? Nope. So the way you get that is just negative. So then this is forward from the anchor and this is backward from the anchor. And then here are those points, and you can assign them out using the references that we've made. I'm going to stop right there for that one and leave that for a little bit. So, yeah, so if you enjoy watching the streams or watching the videos over on YouTube, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and possibly follow on Twitch here, where it's going to be a little bit easier, it looks like, for me to see when people are chatting, and a little bit easier just to launch a stream in general, I guess. But we'll be looking at, if I can pull up my, we'll be looking at going to, so remember 6 o'clock Tuesday, Thursday, there's code and variable stuff going on. Probably going to be trying to draft a design for a sketch desk with a camera mount. Thought that might be fun. Be very useful to me, especially if I have a tracing light underneath it. That'd be very useful. So looking at that. And then on Saturday, we're actually going to start doing some racer design concept stuff. So things are changing a little bit from when I first did this. I'm not going to do some of the concept art that goes along with the more metal type stuff that has the free assets that we're using. I'm actually going to be working on some more bike stuff that I was working on for my bike race game that I'm using this code for. So I'll actually be doing some concept art for that kind of stuff, doing some of the art for that, and working on more towards that kind of thing. If anybody's interested in seeing that, which is kind of a more neon art style. And as always, any comments or any messages or anything will go towards as possible suggestions, and also might be some of the variable Thursday type stuff. So thanks everybody for watching, and have a bug-free night.